Welcome to Right Hand Drive Guys, live from the Abina parking area in Abina, Japan. I'm Bobby, this is Aaron,
Yo.
and today we are going to be talking about our experience at Wekfest Japan. This was like probably 4 or 5 days ago, but we've just kind of been straight out on our trip that we still kind of figured it was worth the coverage. So, we'll get it started right off. Wekfest Japan, obviously Wekfest started over in San Francisco, USA, and now they have kind of expanded, across the world, really, right?
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely in Japan, and it's one of those car shows that really brings in the American influence.
Yeah, I agree. You could see it as soon as you walked in.
A lot of Californians.
Yeah, or people that wanted to be maybe from California.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so we did make it there a little late. Where I said our trip is kind of packed. We made it there just a little late. I think we were hitting a bunch of up garages beforehand, right? So
right.
We were just trying to find some awesome parts, and sometimes you get carried away, and sometimes you make it to Wekfest 45 minutes before they close.
Still didn't disappoint.
Yeah, no, I mean, we got to see.
Yeah, it was solid.
Yeah.
Lots of cool cars.
If you've ever been to a Wekfest or seen coverage or whatever it may be, then you know it really brings in a broad range of cars. And here in Japan, that there was no difference. We saw pretty much everything. USDM cars, Euro cars, JDM cars.
High-end like Porsches, Lamborghinis.
Right.
Had a little bit of everything. It was pretty sick.
There was a lot. So we walked in, like we said, 45 minutes left to go, and we just hit the ground running. Pretty much we split up so that we could see every car that we wanted to, or hit every vendor that we wanted to.
Right.
So pretty much it seemed like Aaron went right and I went left. We walked right in the middle, and we just hit it.
Right, hit the ground running, and the venue that it was at was huge. Like, it's just like this wide open warehouse. Tons of lighting. Like, yeah,
the lighting was sick.
Yeah, it was on point. Like,
I think that hall was fairly new. I saw.
Yeah.
I mean, it was beautiful, and with everything in Japan, everything was super clean. The bathrooms were super clean, considering there was thousands of people here, and I mean, they were super clean. That blew my mind almost as much as some of the cars.
Right. It was at the Port Messe in Nagoya.
Yeah, in Nagoya. So it was Wekfest Japan in Nagoya. And so what like took your mind immediately? What caught your eye, like, first off?
So pulling into the parking lot was crazy, right?
Yeah.
We parked right next to one of the nicest S15s I've seen, but we'll get to that later. But
if you know this guy, you'll know that anytime he sees a clean S15, his pants just drop.
Yeah, dude,
immediately.
Yeah.
And this was no different. Literally, we pulled in, and the S15 was in the spot in front of us, and he's like, "Oh my God, that is so nice. That is so clean." And I'm like looking around, and all of a sudden I realize, S15.
Yeah. Full Vertex kit, but yeah, whatever. We'll get back to that. Walking into the show, though, I started walking down this aisle and immediately saw a bunch of S chassis, so that kind of caught my eye. One in particular, it was a white, what I thought was a 180SX. It was a white, had the Type X kit, had the Signal Auto stripe, had some chrome wheels on it. It's fitted perfectly. Got to looking at it a little more. Noticed it was left-hand drive. I was like, what? What is going on here? Noticed the quarter glass said 240SX. And it was a USDM 1989 240SX.
Wild.
Yeah, first car I seen, and it just immediately blew my mind. And it was just like the perfect spec 180SX. Like, so sick. Or not 180SX, 240
Right?
SS.
See, it's hard
It's
because
hard,
you're
right?
over here and that's what you're expecting. And not just Wekfest, but overall being here really opened our eyes to the importing of USDM cars on this side of the globe.
Right.
It's a thing, and of course we would expect that, but it's really a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that when we're talking about that US influence, that really doesn't stop at Wekfest. It's really it's something that's happening consistently with what we're seeing here.
Right. Whether it's like a square body Chevy truck or
Escalades.
Escalades, Mustangs, like whatever. It's kind of wild to see the influence.
Yeah, and that really again opened our eyes to the fact that like, okay, wow, like we've been obsessed with this Japanese culture for so long, but didn't realize that there are Japanese folks over here that share that same love, but for our stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And so when I walked in and what I first noticed, first picture in my camera roll, like a line of 7 Mazda RX-7s, the FD3S chassis, and they were beautiful cars, all with livery, all just maxed out, total care for the build. Like these guys just put their hearts into these RX-7s, and
Right.
I mean, I like RX-7s. Like I think that they are one of those really classic cars. But normally I would just kind of, glance at one and be like, oh, okay, cool. This guy put it in. But these 5 were just on point.
And I believe all those had Liberty Walk kits on them.
Yeah, from what it looks like, yeah, they were just blown out, period. I really couldn't believe it.
Right. My favorite one of that group was the red and white. It looked like the Coca-Cola library.
Yeah, exactly. And they
Super cool.
they do that type of stuff, right? They'll take something and they'll make their car based like completely around it.
Right. They're taking it and run with it.
Which is again like really cool to see, because a lot of times some of those details, I feel like, at least in my experience in the US, will kind of be skipped over, right? Like a lot of things are, not everything, but a lot of cars are kind of cookie cutter, so to speak, and kind of imitations, but these are completely unique.
Correct, man. It was crazy to see those cars lined up.
So what did you see there that you were just like, what the heck? Like, what is this? This guy is crazy.
Everything. I mean, I saw this line of cars on the outside. There was like an R35 GTR, I believe a Fuga next to it, and then a Challenger on work mitts. Like, I hate Dodges and I hate Challengers, but seeing a Dodge Challenger on work mitts slammed on the ground was cool.
Right,
I mean,
it's a flavor you wouldn't generally see.
Right, and that was wild. There was a bunch of, it looked like Time Attack inspired cars there.
Yep.
They were pretty cool as well.
Definitely saw those. And that, again, is cool. These guys, they may never race those cars.
Right.
But they love that style so much that they are willing to make their vehicle look exactly like a car that would be on the track.
Right.
And I mean, respect to that, you don't have to track your car to enjoy that flavor, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe you sunk everything you got into this car, and the minute you take it on the track, that front lip's turn 2.
Yeah.
Gone. So maybe you're not doing it, but that I definitely noticed that trend of kind of race car styled cars.
Right.
And again, we definitely saw, some USDM cars. It was that Mustang, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's interesting how they do some of these things. How would you describe that Mustang?
Let's see. Definitely 100% Japanese influence on an S197 Mustang. 100%. It had the roof wing, had like the Wangan type spoiler on the back, had all the, just different Japanese type livery type stuff.
Yeah.
It was it was just so weird. It's just kind of you want to hate it, or you don't want to look at it because it's a Mustang or whatever, and then you start looking at it and you're like, you can't really fully hate on it because it's its own unique thing,
Right.
and it's the guy that put the work into it really did it to its fullest, and took it all the way.
Right. He loved
sense.
it. Yeah,
Right.
like that. Right. And that was his vision, on day one, however, he got a hold of this Mustang.
Right.
And come to find out, it was actually featured in Tokyo Auto Salon, right? And,
Right.
And it's, it's definitely a respectable car, but, when you're coming to Japan looking for these like JDM artifacts, and then you see a tannish Mustang like blown right out, you're just kind of like, oh man, like,
Right.
But again, no hate on him. And so there were some vendors there. I was a little surprised. I expected like some different vendors, but again, like still cool. Tommy Chiara himself was there.
Yeah, they had the Resto Mod R34 GTR out.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Which was a treat to see.
Yeah, they really did a great job on that. And we also Garage Active, SS Active was there, and if you know anything about them, they're the ones that make the full carbon GTRs.
Yeah, that thing was insane to see.
Yeah.
They've had it over in the States for the SEMA show this past year, and seeing it in pictures and seeing videos of it online does not do that thing justice. Just the way
it's a beast.
The way all the carbon weave lines up on every single panel.
Perfect.
Like, it looks almost seamless.
And this is the whole car. This isn't just like some doors and, some front fenders. We are talking the whole car.
Right.
They molded out in carbon fiber.
And it also had the HKS RB30 engine in it, which is fairly new, which is sick in
Big
itself.
Boy. Yeah. So, this car is very special. I would say, this is different. Your average Joe isn't building this. This isn't like, some guy. This is a company. So for company display cars, I would say that was absolutely my favorite. Just the color scheme on it is like, with these lights that they had at the Messe, was so awesome. Like, just mesmerizing, so to speak. And so give me a few more cars that you saw that you really felt were like on the top of their game out there.
So there was particularly a gray R33.
Yeah, that was.
And it was R33 GTR. It had a super big wide body on it. Had some type of wheels. I'm not sure exactly what type of wheels it were, but it was center lock. So single lug nut. And all the interior had been reupholstered.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not my taste because it was like a tan saddle type color, like leather, but I can respect it totally because it was just done so nicely, and there was just not anything out of place on it.
No, it was. I mean, besides that color of interior and stuff, I didn't feel like it totally like matched the car, but it's not my car to even think that. So regardless, 9 days out of 10, I would have driven that thing. It was so
definitely
cool.
a show car.
Yeah, right. And that's what we got to remember is, some of these guys, like, they built it just for this, right?
Right.
Like, this is the pinnacle of when they were building that car. I'm taking this car to Wekfest Japan.
Right.
You know? So one thing that I really enjoyed was they had some CRXs and some other Hondas that like were really awesome, like really clean, like totally reconditioned. Like they had an 87 CRX that was just
mint.
Like so mint. Like and again, that 87 CRX was, I don't remember what company that was, but that was one of their cars, and sitting next to it they had like a super low mileage yellow NSXR,
which was insane too.
So they really brought, for a Honda company, they really brought their A game. And then there was another CRX that was like completely Mugen, that was like just so awesome. Like just a little, oh my gosh, sorry. I'm looking at the video now and I'm like, damn, like, it was a CRX SI that they just like did right up. And so that was cool to, because since we've been out here, we've seen some Hondas, but like not as many as I anticipated.
Right.
I think I've seen more GTRs than I've seen super clean Hondas.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe so too. The Hondas out here are kind of far and few between.
Yeah, which I didn't necessarily expect, and maybe we're just not looking in the right places.
Right.
But what else did you see out there?
So I hate to say it, but another R33 GTR, and this one was actually special. It was blue, and that's what the first thing that caught my eye. And it was slammed on a nice set of LMGT4s, which is very typical.
Classic.
And, looking at the car and just looking around it, it's got like, the little decal on the C-pillar that comes on the LM Limiteds, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's a one of 100. They only made 188.
188.
So it's a very rare car, and at first glance, I'm like, oh, this guy just painted his R33 this color blue, put the sticker on, and slammed it, fitted it, made it look nice. But after doing a little bit of research later, I came across a Speed Hunters article from a few years ago where this was an actual R33 LM Limited V-Spec, which is rare, beyond rare. And he slammed it out and did his own thing to it. You know what I mean? So
he for sure did. He did it.
It has a big GT wing on the back, has, splitter up front with canards, all that. Totally track-inspired looking car, and it's just one of the sickest cars I've ever seen before in my life. And knowing that it was an actual LM Limited just made it that much better.
Yeah, he definitely he found that car that he wanted, and he went right to work. And we actually ended up finding a little bit more about it later, because we park our camper at a parking area, and after we're done doing what we're doing, we go back to the camper, we park our car, whatever, and we're like, what the heck? And there is literally like an R32, and you can check out the Instagram to see the pictures, but there's an R32, R33, and R34 just lined up right next to each other, and like flies on poop, we were right over there just drooling. And these guys, they didn't speak much English, but they could tell what that we were in love with the cars, and so they were on their way to home or to do whatever at that point. And after that is when we really started looking into the cars, because we're like, okay, what is up with this car?
Right.
And so they were awesome. They let us take some pictures, and then ended up inviting us to this other meet later on, which all kind of fell into place and worked out. But
yeah, it was sick. Yeah,
it's crazy how the connections can be made from seeing this car at an event to in a parking lot to boom, being at a meet with the guy a few days later.
Right. And one last thing about that car that really stuck with me. In his Speed Hunters article, they asked him, why this car? You could do this to any R33. You could do it to a regular R33 GTR. Why this car? His answer was, because he liked the color.
The man knows what he wants.
Right, and that stuck with me. And, he liked the color, and he built the car to his spec, regardless of what other people might think. And I just thought that made me like the car even more.
Yeah, like, so me being a purist and seeing the car up close, I was like, all right, what is this guy doing? Because he's got the whole interior stripped out. He's, completely modified this thing, which is what obviously he wanted to do. But me, I'm like, man, what is he doing? This car is so rare. Like, but to him, that's not what it was about. It was the fact that he liked that color. There was only 133, right? 188 of that color made. Like, why sit there and keep it all, true to its form? Like, that's not his style. So there, at the end of it, I was like, all right, like, respect. You're not worried about that purist thing. You're worried about what you want, which at the end, at the core, that's what it's all about, you know?
Right. And he has also owned this car for over a decade. So it's not like it's just this fresh build that he got through some wheels. And this is like a well put together car that has been through many phases over the last decade plus.
Right. Like I would love to have like really seen, like, let's just say a time lapse of, you know, how that car went from completely stock over that 10 years to the absolute freaking beast that it is now.
Yeah, insane.
And so, you know, it's kind of funny because when we're talking about the parking areas and like seeing these cars, you know, after Wekfest, we saw just like this parking area was like Wekfest version 2. It was crazy.
Right.
Like all of these cars that were just on this display floor are now rolling through this parking lot with all the owners hanging out. I ended up meeting a guy with a green R34. I saw it, I took pictures of it, and then I come out and it's parked next to my R34, and I'm just like, holy crap. Like, guy comes over and I'm like, hey, is this yours? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, I love this car. This is my R34 right here. We end up following each other, you know, doing some direct messaging and stuff. And so it's just cool, like these connections that can come out of just a parking area, like a travel plaza, basically.
Right. And they're all over. And it's just crazy the random things that'll roll through at any given hour.
Literally.
Not even just Daikoku, but like just anywhere. Any of these parking areas.
Doesn't matter. We've been to like 4 or 5, and at every single one, at some point or another, there's a group of car guys just, you know, chatting it up.
Right. Like last night, it was just a random group of stages right
like
outside of our camper.
So.
Like, 12 or 13, just all in their own unique way, just lined up. And it looked like a cool little meet going on. They were all in a circle talking, shooting the shit, and it looked like a great time. I wish I could understand them.
Yeah, no, seriously. And, you know, that's maybe where the language barrier comes into play a little bit, but like, really? Like, they can tell, they can see it in our eyes. Like, we love these cars. We admire what they've done. And so that right there creates like an instant connection. So let's get back to Wekfest real quick. So, you know, I had a little bit of excitement for a few Honda Beats that they had there. It like sparked this like, oh wow, this is like a cool little convertible, different than the S2000, you know, that were made early on, so they're eligible for import, that, you know, you can kind of mod. They got like a little 3-cylinder engine, you know. They're limited to what?
660cc.
660cc.
It's definitely a K car.
Right. So, you know, and you can, if you haven't seen a Honda Beat, you can picture like an S2000, like, you know, put in a can crusher basically and just shortened up and
through the engine in the back.
Yep, it's a rear engine, which, you know, is unique beyond the NSX for Honda. So that's kind of a cool little thing. But so if you see me with a Honda Beat in the next few months, you'll know why, because I just was like, wow, like just a cool little cruiser, you know, like nothing beyond that. It's just a cool little topless cruiser. So give us a few more little highlights of what you saw there.
Just seeing a lot of S chassis, really, and you know, a lot of them inspired by drift cars back in the day, and just seeing the full extent of modifying these cars. It was just so cool to see. There was one Sylvia in particular. It was two-tone, blue and gray. And it was a factory two-tone. And it had the Brix headlights. It had the factory aero front bumper, factory aero skirts. Kind of like an OEM Plus type build, but the guy had the hood off, and under the hood was an SR20, fatty single turbo, and tubed out front end. And you could tell this dude probably drove it. You know, he's probably hit some drift events for sure. And what was also cool is that he had an RC car exactly spec'd to his car, just chilling on the roof of it. And that was so cool to see. I mean, it was almost identical. Like,
I took a picture of that too. Yeah, I was like, wow, like, and that's the thing, you know, that we've really noticed with the Japanese is their pride is just so insane, and their attention to detail. A lot of them, their attention to detail is just second to none. Like having an RC car that matches your car to a T.
Right.
Like that takes effort. Like you don't just pick that up over at the Don Quixote.
No.
No, you're
No.
not. You're like having that made because of the pride that you have in your build. So that really, I think, stuck with me. You know, that's something I really picked up from this, was just that attention to detail.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there was an S2000 that I really loved. It's, you know, it was clean and simple, hard top. It was the yellow. But what really tied it in with me was the Takata Green TE37s. And if you know me, then you know that on a Civic Type R that I had the Takata Green TE37s. And so anything I see that is done with those that's tasteful, I kind of gravitate towards, because, you know, it really kind of brings me back to the days when I was mounting those up on my car.
Right. Yeah, and also, very unique car that I saw is a Honda. It's a Honda Civic, you know, EK body style. It was a 4-door. However, it's a hatchback. I don't know if you saw that.
Hatchback.
It was one of those things where if you walk by it too quick, you won't even realize it.
I probably didn't even notice it.
It was a 4-door hatchback Honda Civic, and that was just kind of unique
cool.
in itself.
Yeah, you're like double take, like, wait, what?
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen that done before, and that was cool to see. And it was at, you know, one of the booths someone had. It was their car. I guess.
And that's the cool thing, right? Is like these guys will do stuff that is so unique, right? But subtle, like not like in your face. Look. It's like, hey, check it out. I got a 4-door Civic hatch. Ever seen one of these?
Right. Yeah, you know, and I feel like one of the biggest things is, like, I feel like if you would go to a car show like this in America, everyone would have these goofy boards out in front of their cars telling you their specs and like all this stuff. And like, I don't know, I just like looking at the cars and appreciating like what I'm seeing. And I kind of missed out on taking a lot of pictures and like, just because I was just in awe of some of these builds and just seeing the attention to detail. I just really wanted to enjoy it and enjoy it in the moment. And
maybe if we were there for like 3 or 4 hours, you know, and did like 6 or 8 loops, we would have ended up taking more pictures. But again, with 45 minutes, it was kind of like, all right, let's get to it and ingrain them in our heads, you know, and remember them that way.
I'm sure people were looking at me crazy, like, hey, what's this white guy doing just staring with his jaw dropped on the floor? Like, what is going on with this guy?
Is he going to clean up that drool? Or? And what I thought was cool, because, again, like, I was, like, big Honda guy, you know, for a long time. Always loved Nissans, too, but, like, Hondas were definitely in my price range, and where I was never, like, a drifter or anything. It was, like, one of those things where I was just like that front wheel drive guy. And so it was really cool to me to see, you know, I've always been a big fan of Joey Lee, Sticky Diljo at the Chronicles, and to see so many cars, so many Hondas rocking the Chronicles stickers or Sticky Diljo stickers was just so cool to me, because I know how long he's been working at that and just like, you know, really fabricating his personal brand. Right. So to see the support that he's getting all the way over here, I mean, granted, he does invest a lot of time over here in order to build that, but just seeing it was like kind of like a proud moment for me. Like, okay, wow, like this guy is really like reaching a lot further than I had realized. Right.
Yeah. He's put in some work for sure. And that was cool to see. It kind of brought me back to America in that sense, you know, seeing those, because back in the day, you know, at the Import Alliance meets and stuff, the showcase cars, all the nice Hondas would always be rocking the Chronicles or whatever it might be. And that was really cool. And to see that he made it over here and has an influence in itself.
Right.
You know, it's
cool. It really is. Right. And so with that, a few of the Hondas, it was really cool. Their liveries, they'll style their liveries after like kind of old school race cars or whatever it may be. And so it's just like, their flavor is just like so cool. Like it does take me back, like let's just say 15 years to those videos that you would see of like these Hondas on the highway with like these crazy liveries with ITBs just cranking VTEC, like
screaming.
Yes, and it's like you want to so bad like find the owner of this car and be like, so where are you guys going to be at later?
Right. Yeah, because that's where it really goes down.
For sure. Yeah, and so did you see anything that you really, beyond the Civic 4-door, that you just really didn't expect?
Yeah. One of the vendors there was selling just straight up American car dealer license plate frames.
Yeah,
like,
that was weird.
Bins and totes just like stacked full of these American car dealership, just like license plate frames, whether it be Chevy, Geo, Ford, like Jeep, like all this weird stuff. And I'm like, what is going on here? These are like thrown away back home and just tossed to the side as soon as you buy the car, even like, and seeing those on the cars out on the floor.
And about.
Right. And it's just like, what even is this?
Yeah, it's like Ben Miller Chevrolet, and you're like, what?
Who is
Austin,
even that?
Texas, you know?
Right.
You know, and so, you know, again, like a lot of being on this trip, a lot of eye-opening experiences as far as like, wow, like these people are absolutely loving what we put out, down to the stock license plate frames that come, like,
right.
Whew.
Well, same for us, right? Like if we could find a cool Honda dealership or whatever, like, we would want to rock that. And yeah, just seeing like the random American license plates too, like from like Oregon or Texas or South Dakota or just these random states that, you know, they just want it because it's American. And that was just kind of mind-blowing to me. It's just like, what even is this?
Yeah, we need to hit up Varney and get some of the Varney plate enclosures and send them on over so he can be repped out here, right?
Do a little trade.
Yeah, seriously. And so, 4:00 came around, pretty quick for us, obviously, because we are, just cruising through here as fast as we can. I mean, there were some like a few Evos with like crazy livery on them. Did you see those?
I don't think I did. Oh, some of them had the anime Atasha type stuff, like.
And I'm just like, wow, like somebody put in some work, not just to design it, to wrap it, and just like put these guys' vision onto a canvas, which is a car, like fully wrapped with just the craziest anime, and still having like the mirrored logos on each side and everything, super clean,
Yeah, I mean, even if that type of livery isn't your thing, the car build itself is still so tasteful and just perfect.
Second to none. It's like, and you wish you could see some of these things, and granted, maybe, where we're at and in our area, we're just not seeing them. But even, on Instagram and stuff, I'm not seeing a lot of American cars that just put this love.
No. I mean, I feel like in America, if you do a wrap on a car, like that's like step one for some people. Like they do this crazy Atasha type wrap or whatever it is, but it's on a completely stock car with stock wheels, stock everything. It's an automatic, like just
and then
just
they
doing
get
that
clowned on,
right? And it's just like for attention and for clout or something. And like these dudes aren't doing it for that. They are doing it because that is what they want and that's what they love. They don't care if anyone else likes it or not. They love it. That's the end.
And something else that we kind of noticed was like, you're not seeing everybody's Instagram all over their car.
Right,
like
which kind of ties into the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's not for like attention or clout in that way. It's for the passion of the automobile, right?
Right. They build these cars because that's what they love, and they bring them out because they think other people might love them too. But if they don't, it's not that big of a deal. They're not looking for followers. They're not looking for likes. I'm sure they're just looking for smiles on people's faces and like finding those like-minded people.
Yeah, and like the gratification is in real life, not on the internet, right? So when somebody walks up to it, like you said, they smile, they take that picture.
Right.
They don't know who to tag. I don't know who to tag on any of this. And they don't care that I don't know. I saw it. I took the picture. It's in my memory now.
Right, yeah. I was hard-pressed to find some of these dudes on Instagram. You know, you'd have to go
well, you're
to the...
kind of a Dick Tracy when it comes to that. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't know. You're like 3 or 7 minutes later, you're like, hey, look, this is him. Look, oh, wow. And I'm like, dang, dude. Like,
right, because I wanted to find him because I wanted to know these stories with these cars and, like, the background of these dudes and, like, I knew that there was more to the story.
Right.
You know, it's like I just wanted to find out. And yeah, it takes a little bit of work, but like for instance, like the R33, finding out that he got that car just because it was blue. That was just so cool, and that made that car so much cooler.
Yeah,
but that guy
seriously.
doesn't care that I know that.
He doesn't care. And he's kind of an older guy, too, which makes sense. He's had it for 10 years, you know. I mean, you got to have some age on you. But so... yeah, I mean, we could go on about these cars all day. There were, you know, the camera rolls still, even though we didn't take many pictures, it's full. But so 4 o'clock comes around and, you know, these guys are going to start getting out of there and, you know, we're hungry. We're kind of ready to move on. But we knew there was still so much to do out in that parking lot.
Right.
We knew, like, just by when we came in, we knew for sure that we were going to have our work cut out for us just checking out the parking lot.
Right, and some of these cars in the parking lot I think could have been in the show, but there were some others that they were for the streets. There were some drift cars out there that you could tell that they've been driven hard.
Right, them and the boys have hit the circuit a few times.
Right,
sure.
which I love that too.
Respect.
I love the people that, you know, will drive their cars the way they want and not really care, I guess you could say, but like, you know, like this S15 for instance, full Vertex kit, 6 set of wheels, big GT wing, it's perfect. But like, you could tell that it was driven, you know, by the, like right behind the rear wheels, you can see like the paint a little bit chipped away from the rocks or whatever it might be. And that, like, makes that car that much cooler.
Yeah, it's not just sitting in the garage coming out to be in the lot at, like, you know, these events. Like this guy, he's probably hitting some late night runs. He's probably hitting the track, you know. And that's, like, the best of both worlds, right? It's a beautiful car that you can still drive.
Right. Yeah, there was a bunch of S chassis in the parking lot that I really enjoyed seeing just as much as the ones I saw inside because I could tell that they were the driver's cars, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely. And, you know, a lot of these cars at Wekfest, you know, not all of them, like we said, we saw plenty over at the PA afterwards. But, you know, a lot of these cars were on carriers, on haulers when they're leaving, you know, the venue. They're not just being driven. And again, that's their thing, right? They're keeping their mileage low. They're keeping their paint clean and respect to both. But, you know, one vehicle that kind of definitely blew our minds out in the parking lot, I don't even know really what it was. It was this boat. It was a Lincoln. Like, what was
the
that?
Old Cadillac.
Cadillac, yeah, that's right.
He had it parked three-wheeling with hydraulics, had the Daytons on it.
Oh, yeah.
This thing came straight out of early 90s South Central.
Yeah, like for real. Like, we were mind blown.
He couldn't even fit it in a parking spot.
No.
This big old Cadillac.
Its ass was sticking right out.
Right, he's parked halfway in the grass, parked halfway in another parking spot. Like,
it was cool to see. Aaron had to get his picture taken with it because he could not believe that he's seeing this.
Yeah, I was just like, what is this, dude? This is like... just mind-blowing.
Wild, yeah. And so, you know, another notable, I saw a Tommy Mackinnon Evo, and that was, like, cool to see, like, you know, in reality, instead of just maybe on Gran Turismo or, you know, on Instagram. And so, I mean, overall, you know, Wekfest was a great experience. Wish we could have gotten there a little bit earlier, but, like, hey, we had a great time nonetheless. And then to connect these other cars after the fact at the parking area and like then be invited to a little meet was just like
Tokyo Underground.
Yeah, it was really cool, and I'm sure we'll touch on that in another episode. but for today, I think this wraps it up. You know, I don't want to keep it rambling. I think we got the picture out there of kind of what we experienced. And, you know, make sure if you're not, follow us on Instagram at RHDGUYS, and you'll be able to see some of the coverage from this event and kind of put some images to the words that you're hearing.
Yep.
But for now, we're out of here. Peace.
See ya.